Good morning, everyone. Well, after the arrest of Yermak, many of the petty lawmakers started jumping ship from our vessel called Ukraine. This very ship, though, looks more like that yacht called Pobeda, except the first two letters P and O have fallen off. That was from a cartoon about Vrungel. I don't quite remember the exact name. I think it was called Captain Vrungel. And there, as they say, however you name your yacht, that's how it will sail. So this yacht is sailing along. But all these helmsmen, the captains, well, they don't look anything like Vrungel. I mean, they are formerly Vrungels, yes, that's true, but they're not as good as the captain himself was. So what do I actually want to talk about? About the fact that they're running away all these Vrungels from this very yacht, I'll say it again. And one of them is the magnificent ex-minister. He was likely Ukraine's Minister of Transport. His name is Omelyan. That's not his first name, it's his last name. And his first name, I think, is Volodymyr or something. Yes, Volodymyr Omelyan. In short, he's a very patriotic person. You could call him an ultra-turbo Patriot 3000 Max Pro 5 Plus. He says in various interviews that all draft dodgers should be sent almost exactly where you're thinking. Camps, sales, no, but all sorts of restrictions, yes. And the most interesting thing is that he himself has just now become a draft dodger. Let me first show you what he says and then who he really is.
If we don't conduct a fair assessment and identify the professions that are truly needed for the front lines and the home front.
Basically, he wants to evaluate draft dodgers and also assess which professions should be relevant for the front.
In order to win the war, we won't have a trial. And I don't understand how, having such a brilliant former deputy prime minister for digitalization, he can't come up with an obvious systemic solution.
They criticize Fedorov, now Minister of Defense and a former IT specialist. It's unclear how these professions are connected. But anyway, he says digitalization, oh God, you have to enter everything into your computer and digitize it. Because digital technology, artificial intelligence, will help the armed forces of Ukraine win.
Every hour, a person leaves behind such a colossal digital world that finding and identifying where they are and where their activity might be most useful for the state is a matter of 3 seconds for any primitive artificial intelligence, especially since we...
Omelyan wants to track the so-called digital footprint. By the way, there's also a digital shadow. I'll quickly explain the difference now. A digital footprint is what you leave behind more or less under your control, while a digital shadow is beyond your control. For instance, if a camera records you walking down the street, that's your shadow. And a digital footprint, well, that's like registering on Facebook, posting some photos, and so on. Basically, Omelyan wants to keep track of all this and figure out where the draft dodgers are. And now he himself has become a draft dodger. Yeah, and who is he anyway? He's a supporter of Hyperloop. Hyperloop, remember, Elon Musk was promoting it? Basically, in 2018, he signed a memorandum of cooperation to launch those very Hyperloops all over Ukraine, so that Ukraine would have a good transportation network. There's nothing wrong with this idea, but a crazy amount of money was embezzled there. And just recently, when was it? Yesterday, our wonderful minister was served with a notice of suspicion for evading military service. I've already shown you so many videos with him. He said so much about how to deal with draft dodgers, what should be done with them, what they shouldn't be allowed to do. That's it. They're literally not even people anymore, in his own view. And you saw that video. It was also filmed just the other day. It's not from a year ago or anything. Just the other day, he spoke at this TV marathon and explained why draft dodgers are bad. And right away, they tell him that he himself dodged military service in 2022 and 2023. And the investigation. Investigators from the State Bureau of Investigation notified him of suspicion of draft evasion, and the corresponding document is dated May 13, 2026. The text of the notice of suspicion states that the reserve captain, that is our wonderful Omelyan, was called up for military service according to order so-and-so. Later, he was sent somewhere, and he reported knowingly false information to the head of the planning group of the headquarters, saying that, with the permission of the commander of the military unit, he would be performing duties related to logistics and support of the military unit's activities. Well, the man wants to be a supply manager or a warehouse manager. Both of those positions pay well and don't always require a lot of work. Then, according to the investigation, this Omelyan spent his working hours as he pleased. How? That's the most interesting part. Omelyan, in general, is also a deceiver here and everything else, again, according to this State Bureau of Investigation. So that's how things are. And again, I want to show, where is our ex-minister here? Here, this man was wounded at the front. They write that on August 24th, the enemy struck our battalion's position with 2 guided aerial bombs. This time I was lucky, a bone was broken, more than 10 fragments in my body, but I'm still alive. Well, we were also lucky to see Omelyan alive. He's quite a character. It would be a shame to lose him. Now I have 2 birthdays a year, one from my parents and one from Ukraine. So, anyway, here's his photo. You can see, right, with the broken bone. Well, honestly, I'm not a doctor. If there are any medical professionals on the channel, please write in the comments what you think this injury is and whether it's actually an injury at all. There are some pudgy guys around him, and he himself doesn't even have a messy hairstyle, looks very much like a soldier, extremely clean-shaven, fresh, in a t-shirt, but he's sitting against the background of some kind of brick wall, which apparently is supposed to symbolize an earth and timber firing position, a dug-in firing point, some kind of fortification, where Omelyan is sitting and apparently developing his idea for building the Hyperloop line. So, that's what kind of wounded he is. After that, he was basically discharged, as I understand it, and then he started telling stories like, oh, we were going to get to it, and friend, oh, and so on. Well, now he's in Britain. Omelyan is in Britain. So, a draft dodger who is suspected, his case even reached the SBI, the State Bureau of Investigation, and he was the one telling us about draft dodgers. Now he's hiding himself from the ever-present hands, eyes, ears, and other organs and body parts of those same investigators. Well, that's how it is. They're running with their hair flying back, and if some people like me don't really have hair to fly back anymore, his hairstyle actually allows it. And let me remind you about others who have recently run away as well. Here's the most wonderful, highly intellectual deputy, a man with the kindest soul, this very Yuzik, who left Ukraine the day after being questioned by the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Why did he leave the next day? It was just a coincidence. He was questioned, and the next day he went on vacation. A vacation signed by the Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada himself, Stefanchuk. Stefanchuk, like Yuzik and others you know, is from the Club of the Funny and Inventive. But I made a separate video about him. I'll just remind you that he drove his own car to the Costa Brava coast. His family has been living there since the war began. And, by the way, it's unclear why he didn't bring his family to Ukraine so they could also help defend and contribute economically. No, they live abroad. And he also said that his wife bought an apartment in Spain, but he couldn't say the size of the place, the purchase price, nothing, and he couldn't answer where his wife works or what her job is. I'm surprised he can still bring a spoon to his mouth during lunch or dinner there, but apparently he still manages that, it seems so. Looking at his cheerful photo, we can see that the man eats very well. He still couldn't recall how often he visits his family in Spain. He was there with us, but generally he remembers nothing. Everything has been forgotten. Another hero of our time is Mindich. Well, I don't think I need to introduce him to you. But he's still in Israel without any problems. He lives there. And he also somehow fled the country at night, they say, just a few hours before the search. Well, that's just how it happened too. The man urgently needed to go to Israel. Don't get on my nerves by asking why and for what reason. He just needed to, that's all. Now he lives there and says that he doesn't know anything, hasn't seen anyone, hasn't heard about anything at all. Well, probably this character will also either run away soon or go on vacation. It depends on how you look at it. But now they've already started raising money for him. That is, he was detained yesterday, arrested, or rather, not imprisoned. He's in a detention center. It's only his first day there as far as I remember, and they're already actively collecting money. It's only 140 just pennies, 140 million hryvnias, that's more than $3 million. 3.2, I think. And now everyone is raising money together. For a person who said that even his toothbrush was taken away. So he has no money. It's not clear what to do. But he does have something maybe in his office. There's his wonderful lawyer who doesn't even know whether Yermak was a deputy or not. He announced it in court. And this deputy was found on the recommendation of Yermak's fortune teller. Well, in short, this excellent deputy says that his cell was paid for. Honestly, I don't get what paying for a cell means. It's supposedly VIP real estate in prison, and that's where he was placed. Well, they've already collected They've already collected 50% of the amount needed for Yermak's release, and I have a feeling that after he gets out, he'll probably be relaxing somewhere there too. Well, maybe not, of course, because the person has very strong connections, but since he was put in jail to the point that by the way, he's supposed to get out this morning. I'm sure they've collected already, but I don't know the current amount. Well, most likely during the day they'll say that some people there's some female deputy who sent him 8 million hryvnias or something like that. She said it's from her personal funds. And she's also the director of some museum. And how does a museum director have that kind of money? 8 million hryvnias. It's absolutely impossible to understand. But apparently she's a businesswoman. It's just that on one hand she has a hobby, this museum. And on the other hand, maybe she's working on the same Hyperloop project with Omelyan. Well, somehow they managed to collect 8 million. And they keep collecting. I'm sure that by now someone has already sent 100 million or so for Yermak to be released. But what's the point? The point right now isn't about Yermak or Mindic or this Omelyan, for God's sake. The thing is, they're really starting to run away. That same Chernyshov, Zelensky's crony, literally ran away at the end of last year, and Mindic himself brought him back. Then Mindic himself ran away. Chernyshov is in Ukraine now, but he's keeping a low profile, staying under the radar. No one has heard from him. No one knows where he is or what he's doing. Although, in my opinion, the Ministry of Ukrainian Unity, or Mined for short, is still functioning. And apparently funds are still being sent for its maintenance. And there are some employees at this very ministry, including Chernyshov himself. Well, they're just talented people. They work even when the ministry itself doesn't physically exist. I mean the building. Maybe they're working somewhere, maybe from home, remotely. It's more economical for the state, you understand. In short, it's all very, very interesting, especially what's happening with Yermak, and with those people running around. And for some reason, I'm sure that soon there will be more of them abroad. More and more. And most likely they will be preaching about how to be a patriot even while abroad. Take Omelyan, for example. He was already talking about this from the UK. And then who else? Bereza. Also from abroad? He's in the Baltics. Also a magnificent patriot, ultra turbo, triple max pro plus patriot. And he's also abroad, not really eager to return to Ukraine. Whether he's been there in the last couple of years is unknown. There are a few more people like that, I think Melnichenko as well. Either a current or former deputy living in the US, and he also posts videos there almost every day. Because of the 1991 borders, and soon apparently YouTube will be filled up, or maybe not YouTube, but TikTok and Instagram, all these figures will be joining in. And we will be hearing from abroad again about how the war should continue, where to find draft dodgers, and how to track them down. Like this digital cons. I mean, Ukraine in your smartphone is functioning successfully and coming up with more and more punishments. For example, here's something else about punishments specifically. Let me find it in my Telegram channel right now. Here it is. I found it. They're telling us that indirect blocking of draft dodgers' accounts should be introduced. Yet another well-fed little deputy is talking about it. The authorities have created a registry of debtors. And if you are evading, if you are wanted for draft evasion, then you end up in this registry. Paying the fine alone won't remove you from the wanted list. You must visit the Territorial Recruitment Center in person, and we all know what happens there. There, those guys offer you a shot of whiskey or coffee, your choice, and they ask if you, sir, would like to join the army. If you say you don't want to, well, that's fine. See you next time. Then everyone meets and says goodbye. And basically that's how it goes, so that's the deal. By the way, write in the comments what you think about these draft dodgers who talk about other draft dodgers. It's kind of a recursion. And let's discuss them, at least in the Telegram channel. Subscribe to it, just point your phone or tablet camera, and you'll get to the Telegram channel, or go to the description, there's a link there too. Well, now let's take a look at all these comrades who aren't really our comrades, starting with the Cossack sisters, then the Cossack brothers. We'll go through all of them. So, what do we have here? We have this conversation with young Lenin. By the way, this guy, the journalist, he always came to the studio with his hair slicked back, for several years, as long as I showed his videos. And just recently he completely changed his style. I probably called him Young Lenin for about half a year. He really looks like him. Take a look at some of the videos. And suddenly, apparently, maybe he saw a video or someone showed it to him. He put on pink glasses, well, so he could see the country better through his smartphone. He changed his hairstyle and now pretends that he's not Young Lenin. But we know the truth. So Young Lenin is interviewing some Cossack sister.
Well, I can't hear you again.
You can't hear me, right? We'll fix that now.
We'll change the show. We'll send pigeons to you, and you'll send them to us.
Lieutenant Alexandra Vitalis.
The correct form is Madam Senior Lieutenant.
Yeah, she really looks the part. Just look, what an exhausted girl worked at this. I had a friend who used to say, a peach. And well, here she is, a peach, clearly crawling through the trenches with her long hair, this Madam Senior Lieutenant. Look how sweetly young Lenin is smiling, just so happy, so happy.
We must take control, keep living and fighting. If not for...
Yeah, And what about the borders? I get the feeling this is a rehearsed speech because she went through it so cheerfully, like it just rolls off the tongue. Probably you could wake her up at night and she'd still be rambling about how we need to take things into our own hands. What exactly we need to take into our own hands isn't clear, but apparently we have to.
It was hard, but it was worth it.
Young Lenin even bit his lip in excitement.
Of our possible efforts, we have boys and girls who continue to give up what they hold most dear every day.
And what are they giving? Donations to the armed forces of Ukraine or what? Or Mercedes cars? They give money, and Mercedes cars come to them, like Alina's Mercedes. Well, they give resources, yes.
They willingly give their lives so we can defeat this enemy sooner.
Well, if the fighters are like her, then of course they don't hold back. In such restaurants, they mercilessly battle stuffed cabbage and borscht. And the way they battle dumplings, it's honestly scary to watch, especially if they're cherry dumplings. It's a bloody massacre filled with this sticky red substance, which, well, obviously is cherry juice, but still. Meanwhile, real soldiers, real officers continue to fight on the front lines. They look nothing like these slick, pomaded, bearded, well-groomed barbershop guys who have gotten so annoying that I don't even know who, besides me and you, dear viewers, still watches them. It's just insane.
If you can take photos, we'd gladly welcome you to our team.
Yeah. If you know how to make ice cream, you'll be our ice cream stormtrooper. If you know how to trim trees, no, here you'll definitely end up in the tree line. You're the tree expert, so it's the tree line for you.
Want to sit, assemble, and solder drones?
Sure, assemble drones if you want. I just don't get why you need to. Sounds like they're having some kind of circus or something. Oh, the young Lenin even has an accessory. Some kind of lime green watch.
They'll teach and show you. If you want to fly, you choose your...
If you want to fly, go fly. Pick mushrooms in the grove. Sorry, I got off track there.
We're happy to welcome everyone and tailor the position to your skills and preferences.
Well, that's how it is. Look how wonderful. So, whoever wants to can do whatever they want. If you want, make compote. If you want, go grill kebabs. It feels like they're not at the front. Well, with them it's obvious, and with that girl it's clear that... But they want to create the impression that at the front, well, there's really nothing to do there. You come and that's it. Everything is wonderful. Who else do we have here? Well, I've already shown you Omelyan. Here's Mommy's precious boy, who talks about how the purchasing power of the population is falling in Russia. It's unclear how he knows about this, but at least he shows off his beautiful wallpaper. And the journalist was going to say beautiful, but she looks really worried, putting on a serious face. They're talking to each other.
The purchasing power of citizens is dropping sharply, really sharply.
The purchasing power of citizens. I don't know what this little pie is called, but for his information, citizens in Ukrainian is hromadyen. That's why you need to know your own language a little better. It's like a weapon. Language is a weapon. Not graždain, but hromadyen.
Negative profit figures. Negative profit figures for businesses down to -5 or 10. -5 or 10 for budget revenue, negative business profits.
Why are your eyes darting? How can you talk like this? Maybe I'm acting up too and not in control. This is just crazy. I would already have epilepsy if I rolled my eyes like that. It's scary. According to Pirozochok, everywhere you look is basically a dead end. And here's Andrei, Mr. Andrei Pirozochok Andrei, let's call him that. He's also a PhD in philosophy. That's great. All intellectuals, very smart people. Well, you saw with what enthusiasm he talked about how draft dodgers should be punished, probably including Omelyan now, too. That would be interesting, by the way, to send him in as a champion of not dodging the draft, and this very Omelyan as the country's main draft dodger, and see how they fight. Now, that would be a spectacle. Well, I kind of got carried away today with all sorts of metaphors and parodying those little pies. In reality, the situation is truly dire. Those who are telling you and me today about how we need to be patriots, how we need to give all our strength, like that little peach said that we need to take everything into our own hands. Then they run away. Tomorrow they're already fleeing the country. No one will remember them soon, just like, for example, do you remember the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Danilov? He used to talk a lot too. The guy's gone, he's disappeared from sight, he's living his best life somewhere, unlike you and me. And these people who did all this, that's exactly how they live, by that principle. He took... Okay, let's not recall the gentleman of fortune principle. I think you all remember which one was used there. Write in the comments if you remember, leave a like. If you don't remember, just like the video for existing. And please subscribe to the channel. I'm really asking everyone to leave likes as well. Well, goodbye everyone.
Let's suppose there's a position that two people want to take. Moreover, this position requires some knowledge, experience, and so on, and everything else about them is the same. They're identical in every way, except one is decent and the other a scoundrel. Who gets the job? Naturally the scoundrel. He'll do what the decent one won't. And of course he will make it through. The conclusion is, as the level of management rises, more and more scoundrels accumulate.